This is CBN NewsWatch.
Thanks for joining us for CBN NewsWatch. I'm Gary Lane. We begin this half hour in the Middle East. U.S. intelligence suggests that Iran is fueling anti-Israel protests on American campuses in order to divide America. Meanwhile, Iranian proxies Hezbollah and Hamas continue to attack Israel. CBN Middle East correspondent Julie Stahl has that story.
The IDF targeted Hezbollah launch sites in Lebanon after the terror group rained 30 to 40 rockets on Israel's Golan Heights, killing 2 civilians as they traveled in their car. The barrage came after an Israeli strike killed Hezbollah leader Hassan Nasrallah's former bodyguard. In Gaza City, the IDF is renewing assaults on areas reoccupied by Hamas and Islamic Jihad terrorists. Israeli troops found these terrorists operating out of schools, a medical clinic, and the Gaza City headquarters of the UN agency UNRWA. On the propaganda front, the director of U.S. National Intelligence warns Iranian agents are using cyber and social media to stoke protests in the U.S. in an effort to divide Americans. Avril Haines writes, these agents are posing as activists online, seeking to encourage protests and even providing financial support to protesters. Josh Reinstein, president of the Israel Allies Foundation, says the Iranian threat is greater to the West than it is to Israel.
Around the world, Iran is also attacking countries in Europe through different organizations, through funding terrorism. In America, they actually tried to assassinate several American leaders like Mike Pompeo and John Bolton.
As it prepares to begin its nominating convention next week, the Republican Party is pledging support for the Jewish state and to hold accountable those who perpetrate violence against the Jewish people, as well as revoking visas of foreign nationals who support terrorism and jihadism. Julie Stahl, CBN News, Jerusalem.
Middle East Bureau Chief Chris Mitchell is with us now. Chris, where are you?
Well, Gary, I'm in Lebanon. I'm in Israel right now, but behind me, you can see in the distance the Golan Heights. In Julie's report, that's where they 2 people were killed by a Hezbollah rocket. We're also standing next to one of the many forests that have been burned here, Gary, and since the beginning of the war. You used to live and work in this area, not too far in that distance. We can actually see Lebanon right now in just a hillside not too far from here. And we've been reporting and talking to people here literally on the border. We were in a kibbutz not too long ago, literally 200 meters from the Lebanese border.
Chris, you've had about 85,000 people at least that have evacuated from northern Israel. Any chance they'll be back soon?
It doesn't look like that way, Gary. We talked to a couple of the people that have had to evacuate. It's so traumatic, not to a family. They're living out of in sort of an apartment, sometimes hotels. Many of them are living in hotels in Jerusalem, literally all over the country. So right now, it doesn't look like they're going to come back anytime soon. Literally just about 45 minutes ago, we were talking to one person, and he says they don't want to go back unless they can feel safe. And right now, about 5 miles away is Hezbollah with maybe 150,000 rockets. That's certainly not anything they want to return to when rockets are firing nearly every day.
Have they fired any today, Chris, and in what direction?
You know, we haven't heard any. We've been, as I said, right on the border. We're here right now next to this beautiful forest. I mean, Gary, this land is beautiful. And we were talking to a forester who's in charge of many of the forests in the Golan Heights. For him, it's just a sad sight to see. Literally, maybe 60,000 acres of forests have been burned, and many of these forests have been planted like 60 years ago. And Israel has been foresting and planting trees for decades, and many of these trees have gone up in smoke. Literally, the trees that we're just a few feet away from were planted after the 2006 Second Lebanon War, Gary, and now they've been burned up again. And so I don't think these people are going back anytime soon. And I think that what remains to be seen is what many would like. They don't want war, but they certainly want to eliminate the threat of Hezbollah that represents a much greater danger than Hamas does on Israel's southern border.
Chris, about that threat, what about the assassination of the former bodyguard to Nasrallah, Kuran Bashi? Why did Israel go after him?
Well, they've been going after a lot of the top commanders here on the other side of the border. And what happens is when one of these top commanders gets hit, then Hezbollah releases a barrage of rockets, maybe 40 or 50, that have gone down as far south as the Sea of Galilee. So Israel is trying to eliminate much of the top echelon of Hezbollah. He was a bodyguard to Hassan Nasrallah. Many of these other top commanders were in charge of many of the geographical areas within South Lebanon. So this is part of Israel's strategy. It's not the main strategy, but they're trying to eliminate the main leadership of Hezbollah, is trying to degrade what Hezbollah can do. That's why many of the attacks are going on. In preparation, Gary, what many people expect would be a major war between Israel and Hezbollah.
Well, we'll see what develops. Chris Mitchell from Jerusalem in northern Israel. Thanks, as always, for your insights. Stay safe. And know, Chris, that many people are praying for you and our staff there in Israel. God bless. Well, back here at home, while President Biden announced a new weapons package for Ukraine at the NATO summit in Washington, his own party remains at war over whether he's fit to serve another 4 years as commander-in-chief. Although he has gained the endorsement of some key Democrat leaders, Dale Hurd has that story.
For the moment, President Biden may have blocked what some call a coup attempt from his own party to remove him as nominee. But all the criticism reveals a deep lack of confidence among Democrats. The president survived a crucial day after Democrat senators and House members did not announce mass defections after private meetings, but the party is far from unified behind its nominee, as summed up by Congressman Steve Cohen.
Are you all on the same page?
No. What do you mean you're not on the same page? You're not even in the same book.
A seventh House Democrat has called for Biden to drop out, although he did get an endorsement from Senator Chuck Schumer, the majority leader repeating the same line to reporters 3 times.
As I've said before, I'm with Joe.
Democratic leaders had supposedly agreed to stop talking about their discontent with Biden publicly, but that didn't stop Senator Michael Bennet from becoming the first Democratic senator to tell CNN he doesn't believe Biden can beat Donald Trump. And Senator Dick Durbin said it's up to Biden to show he can win.
At this point, I would say to the president, the challenge is to you. Show us in the way you campaign that you can effectively beat Donald Trump.
On the campaign trail, former President Trump was enjoying all the Democrat Party infighting.
The radical left Democrat Party is divided in chaos and having a full-scale breakdown, all because they can't decide which of their candidates is more unfit to be president.
At the NATO summit in Washington Tuesday, Biden announced a new aid package to Ukraine.
The United States, Germany, the Netherlands, Romania, and Italy will provide Ukraine with the equipment for 5 additional strategic air defense systems.
Ukrainian President Zelensky is clearly worried about the impact the 2024 election will have on more aid for his nation.
Americans are waiting for November in Europe, Middle East, in the Pacific. The whole world is looking to autumn, looking to November. And truly speaking, Putin awaits November 2.
Some Democrats are now fearing a Trump landslide, and another stumble by the president is sure to ignite more calls from his own party to step down. Dale Hurd, CBN News.
Coming up, twins Dalton and Mary Elizabeth were frozen embryos for 10 years. Meet the couple who adopted them and gave them a chance at life. You're watching CBN News Watch. Welcome back to CBN News Watch. The abortion debate has sparked new arguments over in vitro fertilization. A majority of Americans support the practice that helps childless couples conceive. Others are divided on the morality of a procedure which involves the destruction of frozen embryos. Charlene Aaron reports on a possible solution where everyone wins.
Millions of couples deal with infertility, and more are turning to science in the hope of growing their families. The latest U.S. statistics show that in 2021, in vitro fertilization resulted in the births of more than 86,000, or 2% of babies nationwide. Amidst growing debate over IVF, a lesser-known option called embryo adoption is also gaining ground. For 10 years, Rodney and Mary Leah Miller struggled to have a family.
Attempt after attempt, negative pregnancy test after negative pregnancy test, you begin to wonder, will this ever happen for us?
That question led the Alabama couple to undergo several rounds of in vitro fertilization, which all failed. Then in May of 2020, friends told them about embryo adoption, a process which involves a woman receiving one or several donated frozen embryos.
We both just had a peace about us, and we're very confident that this is how the Lord was going to start our family.
The Millers connected with the Snowflake program, which helps people with embryos in frozen storage to offer them for adoption. While their first try resulted in miscarriage, the second proved doubly successful. 2 years ago, twins Dalton and Mary Elizabeth, who had been frozen for 10 years, were born via C-section.
To see that promise realized on December 23rd, 2022 was, it was truly a miracle, but also just representative of God's faithfulness.
Concerns about this technology have moved to the forefront this year, especially over the large number of embryos which may never be implanted. In February, the Alabama Supreme Court ignited the debate by ruling frozen embryos created during IVF to be children. Then, during its annual meeting in June, the Southern Baptist Convention passed a resolution expressing compassion for couples faced with infertility, as well as moral caution for the procedure. Ethicist Jason Thacker advised the SBC on the matter.
We're not condemning the practice outright, but we're saying we must kind of think cautiously and cultivate wisdom for how we navigate these devastating realities.
Nightlight Christian Adoption Agency, home to the Snowflake program, estimates more than 1.5 million embryos remain in frozen storage nationwide. CBN News asked Beth Button, the program's executive director, about the possibility of finding adoptive families for all those embryos.
It really depends on how many of those embryos end up being donated for adoption. So many of the embryos that are in frozen storage, the family who created them could potentially be still planning to use them at a later point for reproduction.
Budden says many who support embryo adoption are unaware of what's involved in the practice.
And unfortunately, it's just part of the everyday practice of in vitro fertilization that embryos are discarded.
Ethical issues that can be difficult, especially for many Christians.
We faced them and made very difficult decisions with our very first specialist that we spoke with on the number of embryos that we were willing to fertilize and that we wouldn't be discarding.
Thacker sees the widespread acceptance of in vitro fertilization as the next stance in the fight for the unborn. A recent Gallup poll found that 82% believe IVF to be morally acceptable. 10% viewed the procedure as morally wrong, with the remainder expressing no opinion. And when it comes to destroying frozen embryos created by in vitro fertilization, 49% believe it is moral to do so, while 43% disagree.
What we're seeing not only in the state of Alabama, but other states rushing to kind of usher in protections for IVF, access to IVF. We see the push at the federal level to federalize access to IVF.
Meanwhile, the Millers are grateful for their growing family, as they're expecting a second set of twins later this year.
Look at these beautiful blessings the Lord has given us. We spend our time thanking Him for the science and everything that He has provided to make this possible.
Charlene Aaron, CBN News.
Still ahead, Travis Greene. He's a recording artist and pastor. He's now an author of his first book. We talk to him about it next. And you're watching. See. Grammy-nominated recording artist Travis Greene is also a husband, father, and the founder and pastor of Forward City Church in South Carolina. His newest title is author. Ephraim Graham sat down to chat with him about his first book. It's titled Are you praying for the wrong thing?
Some of us even have vision, but we are not praying for God to prepare us for what he's prepared for us. I said, God, if you just give me a bigger building, all of my troubles will go away. He said, oh, really? The most, ladies and gentlemen, the one who matters the most is a man by the name of Jesus. This is his story.
What happened with Travis Greene that made him write this first book, if you will, and what was that process like for you?
Yeah, so, you know, the idea and the revelation of Are You Praying for the Wrong Thing was something that was just transformative for me. And I felt as if, man, this could help a lot of people. I don't think there's many things more discouraging than an unanswered prayer. And once I figured out what was the delay? Why are my prayers going unanswered? I found out that I wasn't just waiting on God, but God was waiting on Travis, you know. And so that's what I'm talking about in the book. Many times we're praying for miracles when we should be praying for management. Many times we're praying for stuff, we should be praying for strategy. Praying for more people, as I was, when I should have been praying for better processes. So that's what the whole concept of this came from. And like I said, it's changed my life, it's changed my wife's life, it's changed our leaders, it's changed Forward City Church in Columbia, South Carolina, the church that we pastor. And now with thousands of people picking it up, I'm believing that it'll change their lives as well.
Do you think Christians undervalue the power of prayer?
Yes, I think we don't recognize how strong prayer is, but at the same time, I think we have been we bought into really a misconception as well of what prayer is. Prayer is not, you know, this is a quote from the book, but prayer without preparation is just wishful thinking. You know, if you have prayer without a plan, then you're just really just saying, God, if you'll just do this, everything will be better. And, you know, it's very difficult to find miracles in the Bible that did not have some sort of human involvement. And so I think as much as we do pray, we also should be asking God, what are ways that I can be prepared for the things that I'm praying for?
So where do you personally recall praying for the wrong thing?
Oh, man. You know, for me, this entire thing was birthed years ago. I think we were in our second year of Forward City Church, and I was given a tour, if you will, of a very small church called Elevation Church in Charlotte, North Carolina. And I was looking at some of their properties, and I remember having this feeling like, man, they have so much. Man, we're 90 minutes up the road and we're struggling. We're lacking resources, we're lacking people, we're lacking finances, we're lacking property. Like, come on, like, be fair, just share a little. Man, if you'll share 1/10 of what they have, we'll be all right. And I remember just having this conversation with God in my heart, and the Lord asked me a question. He said, what would you do with $1 million? In other words, what would you do with more? And I didn't have an answer for it. And until we're actually able to answer that, why is it checking our motives? Are your motives even pure to why you want what you want? Then secondly, for what? Is there a plan for the thing that you're asking for? And when you get those things together, man, I'm telling you, you'll be surprised by the blessings that God has in store for you.
So what's your prayer for this book? Asking the question, are you praying for the wrong thing?
My prayer for this book, honestly, is that it touch lives and that it help people be able to finally hold in their hands what they've been holding in their heart. That's honestly my prayer for it. Whether it's 10 copies sold or 10 million sold, I just really want people to be blessed by it. I feel like the concepts found here has helped me get from a place, I know what it's like. I wrote it from a place of burden. I know what it's like to be frustrated, to be discouraged, to have this God-given desire, right? And that makes you feel like you're a little crazy or make you look a little crazy because it's not happening as quick as you think it should happen. And so for me, I remember what it's like. I never really want to forget what it's like to, man, God, you said this, where are you? You know, I know what that feels like. And the burden of that is really what this book was written, that, man, God showed me some things in that valley that changed my life. It turned my frown into a smile. It turned my weeping into rejoicing, not on the mountain, but even in the valley. I found joy in the valley. I found contentment in the valley. I found success in the valley because success is obedience. I found fulfillment there. And then through that fulfillment, little by little, I start to see the manifestation. And the goodness of God is that, man, you know, you just look up and it's there. You know, it's what the promise that God gives in 2 Kings chapter 3. He says, make this valley full of ditches. He said, you won't see the wind, you won't see the rain, but I'm going to fill it up.
Travis Greene's book, Are You Praying for the Wrong Thing?, is available wherever you purchase your reading material. And be sure to join us tonight for an all-new edition of Studio 5. Ephraim Graham talks to rapper, scholar, and speaker D1. He talks about his life, new music, and why he's calling us all to put up our 3 E's, our threes. Be real, be righteous, and be relevant. You can catch the all-new episode of Studio 5 tonight on the CBN News Channel at 8 p.m. You can also watch it on the CBN News app or on YouTube. Well, coming up, an exciting, unexpected turn of events at a baseball game. We will share the good news next. You're watching CBN News Watch. Welcome back to CBN News Watch. A night at the ballpark took on an unexpected turn when a player was baptized on the field after the game. Minor league baseball player for the Nashville Sounds, Wes Clark, was baptized Saturday after winning against the Memphis Redbirds. Clark's teammate Brewer Hicklin baptized him in a large tub near home base, and both players changed out of their uniforms into Jesus Won t-shirts to mark that special occasion. It's quite a sight, isn't it? Well, that's this edition of CBN News Watch. Remember, you can find more of our CBN News programs on the CBN News Channel anytime or online with cbnnews.com. Also, tell us what you think about the stories you've just seen by emailing newswatch@cbn.com or talk to us on Facebook, X, and Instagram. Hope you'll join us next time. Have a great day.